today's the topic is GARP, and GBRP. Upload it. So we are talking about a GARP and GBRP. So basically, so first I will tell you what is the full form of GARP and GBRP. So GARP, that stands for Generic Attribute Registration Protocol, and GBRP, that is Generic VLAN Registration Protocol. So whenever if we have a large network, suppose if we have a large network and we want to apply VLAN over the network, so it is difficult to create and manage the network because we do not know about each and every switch. So the solution is GARP and GBRP when we want to establish VLAN on a large network. So these are some kind of standards. We have one IEEE standards. So so whenever we are using Cisco's, that means we use it has VTP. When we are talking about Huawei, that means in that case that is VCMP. So in this case, VTP that stands for VLAN Trunking Protocol. In the case of Cisco, but in the case of Huawei, that is VCMP, that is VLAN Control Management Protocol. So this is a basic idea about GARP and GBRP. So next is GARP that create a VLAN, that is create a VLAN dynamically. And if someone delete their VLAN, or then VLAN, or you can say it's disable the VLAN. So rest of all the PCs delete their connection from the network. So this is a basic so next, that is objective. So objective of a GARP and GBRP. So the main objective of GARP and GBRP is when we create a VLAN on a small network, so it is difficult to manage. So that's why we are using GARP and GBRP for a large network. So this is a basic structure of GARP, that is Generic Attribute Registration Protocol. So in this case, registration and deregistration happen. In the given diagram, that is registration and deregistration happen. So GARP is an attribute-based protocol. So basically, it is an attribute-based protocol. It is automatically registered to all the switches without logging dynamically. So if we create VLAN in switch B, suppose we have switch A, switch A, switch B, and switch C. Suppose we create VLAN between to a switch B. So if it will replicate to switch A. So it is replicate to switch A, and also it is replicate with switch C. So that is automatically VLAN that is created in the case of GARP and GBRP. So next is the format of GARP. So in this case, there is one term that is your GARP PDU format. So basically, this format is the protocol data unit format. So in this case, just now about the PDU, that is protocol data unit. So in this case, first we are having the protocol ID in a given diagram, that is protocol ID. First is a protocol ID, So protocol ID, that is always is one. It always is one. And next field in the case of GARP PDU format, that is message. So message that further divided into different categories. So this message is further divided into different categories. So the categories are, suppose this is a message. So message based upon attribute type and message based upon attribute list. So message based upon attribute type and attribute list. So when we are talking about the attribute type, that means which protocol you want to enable and disable. In this case, which want to enable and disable the particular protocol. So in the case of attribute list, that shows the complete list of the protocol. It tells it or shows the complete list of the protocol. So next is attribute length. So in this case, that is attribute length. That tells the length of the attribute. So next is a attribute event. So attribute event that says what you want to do, whether you are registration or a deregistration. And the last field, that is attribute value. So value, that is value that based upon the VLAN number. That is based upon the VLAN number, suppose 1 or 10, any number. So this is the complete about the GARP PDU format. So next is attribute event and joining message. So before the start of this, that means you people must know about the protocol. So protocol that tells the connectivity between the different devices, or we can say that it is a set of rules. Set of rules के दोनों side पे message जो है वो easy to understandable रहे. So there are three types of message are in this attribute. Three type of attributes are in this case. That is so there are three types of message are in attribute. First one is join, and second is leave, and third one is leave off. So join message that further divided into two categories. That is join in and join empty. So join in, that clear by its own name, that means to join the message. And join empty, that means if no attribute is registered at that time. So whenever is basically empty, that means there is when there is no VLAN. When there is no VLAN. No VLAN on a in particular switch. So join in, that means VLAN is must in both VLAN. Must in both end. That means attributes. That means attribute is registered. So they work with upstream. So empty that work with downstream, and this is upstream. So next we are having is second type, that is this is join message, and second one is leave message. Second one is leave message. So leave message again it two types, that is leave in and leave in and leave empty. So it is similar with the join-in method that's specially used for deregistration the attributes. And if you want to delete the VLAN network, first you will send a leave-in message to downstream. You send leave-in message to downstream. So this is a basic way to leave message. So next we are having leave all message. So leave all if you want to delete VLAN from switch A and reboot the particular switch. So then switch will send a message to the downstream, or we can say downward, to delete all the attributes. Suppose we are having three switches, switch A, switch B and switch C. Suppose switch A delete the VLAN, and reboot the particular switch. So in that case, then switch will send a message to the downstream to delete all the attributes, because it remove all the attributes that are controlled or that are connected with this network. So this is a way to leave all messages. So next we are having GVRP. So basically GVRP, that is generic VLAN registration protocol. So in this basically it is an application of GARP. It is an application of GARP that work on downstream. Or we can say that downward. So basically that is used for creating a VLAN. This is the basic purpose for using GVRP. Next is registration mode. So basically registration mode, that means we are using VLAN type. So in this case we are having two VLAN types. One is static and dynamic. Static and dynamic. So static, that means which we create manually over any switch. Static. So when we are talking about the dynamic VLAN, that is that means which are received from other switch that using the GARP protocol. So this is the called dynamic type of VLAN. So if a given image switch A, suppose we are having switch A and switch B, in this case switch A and switch B, in this given diagram, switch A create a VLAN 10. That means it works with the static mode, and then switch B will receive attribute and work in the dynamic mode. Or static, it will show the only common, and dynamic it will show dynamically. So now there are registration modes. That means we are having three registration mode, that is normal, fixed or forbidden. So in next slide, that is first registration mode, that is normal. So normal means that permits the registration of both static and dynamic VLAN on a particular port interface. And suppose we create a VLAN 2 and VLAN 3 on a switch A. Suppose we are having three switches. Switch A, switch B and switch C. Suppose we are having three switches, switch A, switch B and switch C. So switch A and switch B. Switch A, they send the traffic to switch C. Switch A send the traffic to switch C. Then they will become a dynamic, and then switch C send traffic to a switch B. Switch C send traffic to a switch B. they will also dynamic. So means learn and advertise static and dynamic VLAN, that is a normal means. So only one way interface, that is called a receiving interface. So this is a way to for a registration mode normal. So next mode, that is fixed. So fixed means, that means registration or deregistration of dynamic VLAN is restricted. That is restricted. So in that case, port interface only send declaration of static VLAN. So it will only send static VLAN. That is only send the static VLAN. Suppose switch A. Suppose switch A assign as a friend fixed mode. Assign as a fixed mode, and it will send traffic to switch C. And if switch C is normal, suppose if switch C is normal, then they will forward as dynamic to a switch C. And next is forbidden. So in this case, all VLANs are the exceptions of VLAN 1 and are deleted from the port. And all the ports can only send declaration of VLAN 1. So in this case, that is only VLAN 1. As shown in a given example, there is only VLAN 1 is there. So now next is enabling GVRP. So this is the configuration part of the GVRP. So first you will enable GVRP as a global view in the system view. You have to enter into a system view, then interface view. When we enter into the interface view, then we start on a port link type trunk. So why trunk? Because we are talking about so can anybody tell me what is the difference between trunk port and access port, or when we create or where we create trunk port? Can anybody just raise your hand? Yes, Rohit. 347. Rohit. Where we establish or where we create a trunk port and where we create access port?
सर जैसे कि मतलब ट्रंक पोर्ट जो होता है वो बाय डिफॉल्ट होता है, और मतलब अगर हम स्विचेस के बीच में अगर करने का कोशिश करते हैं, जैसे कि अगर हम सिंगल ट्रैफिक यूज करना चाहते हैं तो शायद ट्रंक पोर्ट यूज करते हैं, और एक्सेस पोर्ट में मल्टीपल हो जाता है।
देखो सेम क्वेश्चन आपकी असाइनमेंट का भी था, जो आपको प्रैक्टिकल टास्क मिली हुई ना, उसमें भी है ट्रंक पोर्ट और एक्सेस पोर्ट। जो आपको थर्ड मैंने जो लास्ट लेक्चर या लास्ट टू लास्ट लेक्चर में हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया था, ट्रंक पोर्ट और एक्सेस
सॉरी
पोर्ट।
सर, शायद मैंने उल्टा बोल दिया। एक्सेस पोर्ट में जो होता है वो ट्रैफिक शायद मतलब वन वीलैन से वो जुड़ा होता है, और शायद ट्रंक पोर्ट में जो होता है मल्टीपल वीलैंस होते हैं ना।
दैट मींस ट्रंक पोर्ट जो है दैट इज ऑलवेज इज कनेक्टेड विद द स्विचेस।
हाँ,
ट्रंक पोर्ट सिर्फ स्विचेस के बीच में बनेगा, और जो एक्सेस पोर्ट है दैट इज बिटवीन स्विच एंड पीसी।
यस सर।
ठीक है, तो ये चीज याद रखने वाली, जो स्विचेस है अगर उनके इन बिटवीन है तो वहां पर ट्रंक पोर्ट ही एस्टैब्लिश होगा, और स्विच टू पीसी दैट मींस ऑन दैट टाइम वी क्रिएट एक्सेस पोर्ट। ठीक है,
ओके सर।
सो in this next is to port allow and because right now we pass the VLAN to all the ports. So if you assign fixed mode in GVRP, fixed mode to GVRP, that means that only learn static VLAN and advertise static VLAN only. Suppose we assign fixed VLAN to fixed GVRP to a particular VLAN. So that means we are talking about we advertise the static VLAN only. So next is GVRP status. If we want to check the status of the GVRP, whether it is enabled or disabled, you just type display GVRP status. Then they will tell you about the status of the GVRP. So next is basically these two questions as your the example of your poll questions. So first question, that is, what is the default registration mode used by GVRP? Default registration mode used by GVRP. This is your first poll question. Shivam 368.
Yes, sir.
Shivam, what is the answer for first question? What is the default registration mode used by GVRP? We already discussed a few minutes back कि क्या है registration mode का जो default registration mode है for GVRP. Have you any idea about that or नहीं idea कोई? Yes, Rima. Prabnoor.
Sir, normal.
Normal. So correct answer is normal. So normal is a default mode in GVRP. Okay. And so
हेलो सर.
हाँ जी समित.
सर जीवीआरपी सर क्या होता है? इसका सर
GVRP
फुल
क्या
फॉर्म.
है?
जी सर, इसका सर फुल फॉर्म क्या होता है?
GVRP की फुल फॉर्म है जेनरिक वीलैन रजिस्ट्रेशन प्रोटोकॉल.
जी सर.
ठीक है. So second question, that is, what is necessary in order to allow VLAN information to be propagated over the links between each of GVRP capable devices? And who will tell this question's answer? Amrose. Richa Bhandari. Vivek. Yes, Rohit.
सर क्वेश्चन यही है ना कि मतलब कौन सा मतलब जो प्रोटोकॉल है वो वैलिड होना चाहिए, ग्लोबल वन?
नो, जो क्वेश्चन है इसमें है कि नेसेसरी क्या है कि जो VLAN को अलाउ करने के लिए, पास करने के लिए between the links for the GVRP capable devices. So answer for this question, that is by creating the trunk port.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so answer for this question is by creating the trunk port. So now we are going to start next topic, that is frame relay principles. So next topic is frame relay principles. So basically frame relay that use in ISPs, that specifically use in ISP networks. Frame relay principles. that is specifically used for ISP network that provide the packet switching technology. Packet switching technology between the enterprise network or that is specifically for multiple users, or we can say that multiple offices. So in this case, there is one term used, that is MPLS. MPLS, that is for multiple protocol label switching. So under one serial port, we can or we will make virtual mode connections. Virtual mode connections, or we can create a logical connection. Logical connection, that means we are talking about the FrameRelay virtual connection. So there is one point-to-point protocol, or here is the FrameRelay principle. So in this case, suppose there is a one switch. There is a one switch that is connected with suppose this PC, or this PC. Suppose it is a router. Suppose it is a router that connected with the different switches. So that means here is the wastage of the links. Wastage of the links, or we can say that wastage of links and ports. So in the case of FrameRelay protocol, we use one, suppose here is again one router that connected with a single switch. And this single switch acts as a FrameRelay switch that is connected with further. So in this case, there is only one port used in the case of this router when we are using FrameRelay switch. So here we create virtual connection. Here we create virtual connection in FrameRelay network. So only one port we use in this case. But in the case of point-to-point protocol, we use multiple ports for a single router. So here is, that means we are wasting our links, or we can say that wasting the number of ports. But when we are talking about the FrameRelay switch or FrameRelay, in that case there is only use single port, one port we use. That means we are creating virtual connection, or we create a FrameRelay switch. So this is a basic way, or basic advantages of FrameRelay. So basically, it's a objective of the FrameRelay. That means we describe the function of these DLCI in a FrameRelay network to describe the different both static and dynamic mapping. So next, that is FrameRelay applications. So in this case, we used in the ISP network as shown in the given example in PPT. So in image, that FrameRelay switch are connected with the edge routers. It connected with the edge routers that transfer the packets to one branch to main branch. So it is a FrameRelay network that is components. So FrameRelay network that defined from different components. So they are used synchronization communication. They are using synchronous communication. So before the start for synchronization communication, you people must know about the synchronization, asynchronization. Can anybody just tell me if you have any idea about the synchronization or asynchronization? Anyone, just raise your hand if you know about the synchronization or asynchronization. Okay, now I'm going to explain. Okay, yes, Rohit.
सर सिंक्रोनाइजेशन इन द सेंस अगर मतलब सेंडिंग रेट और अगर रिसीविंग रेट अगर सेम है तो फिर एक तरह से वो सिंक्रोनस है, बट अगर उसमें
which
कुछ वेरी होता
suppose which one is faster, synchronization or synchronous communication fast रहेगी या asynchronous communication fast रहेगी?
सर ये तो डिपेंड करता है ना डिफरेंट सिचुएशन पे।
See,
अ,
बोलो।
क्योंकि सर अगर हमें मतलब किसी भी डेटा की जरूरत है, अगर मतलब फास्ट रेट पे मतलब अगर सिंक्रोनसली जरूरत है तो फिर उसमें मुझे सिंक्रोनस की जरूरत पड़ेगी। और अगर हम हमारे पास कुछ ऐसा डिवाइस है जिसके थ्रू हम उस एसिंक्रोनस मोड ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन को अगर हम स्टोर करके अगर हम उसे भेज सकते हैं बाद में, तो फिर एसिंक्रोनस मतलब जरूरत पड़ेगा हमें। वो तो डिपेंड सिचुएशन के ऊपर ना।
ठीक है, बट देयर इज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन कि हम लोगों ने सिंक्रोनस कम्युनिकेशन यूज़ करनी है या असिंक्रोनस कम्युनिकेशन यूज़ करनी है। सो बेसिकली जो रहेगी आपकी सिंक्रोनस कम्युनिकेशन, synchronous communication, that means that transmission starts with block headers which hold a sequence of bits in the case of sequence transformation or sequence communication. But on the other hand, it uses start bit and stop bit, that preceding and following a character respectively in the case of asynchronous communication. But in the case of synchronous, that sends data in the form of blocks and frames. But in the case of asynchronous, that send data one byte or character at a time in the case of asynchronous communication. And synchronous communication, that is faster than the asynchronous communication, because in the case of synchronous we are sending uh, block of data or frame of data. So that's why we are talking, that's why we are saying it is faster than the asynchronous. So example in the case of synchronous, that is chat rooms, video conferencing or telephonic conferencing. But in the case of asynchronous, so example in this case, that means we are sending letters or sending emails. So this is a basic difference between synchronous or asynchronous. So here we use two equipments are used in this frame relay. One is DTE and DCE. Use two components, that is DTE and DCE. So DTE, that stands for data terminal equipment, and DCE, that is data circuit terminating equipment. So DTE, that means which will receive clock from DCE and synchronize the data for serial communication. And the data transmission equipments, and DTE always in the customer side. DTE always in customer side, or DCE it provide clock and data circuit transmission equipment, and that is always on ISPs. DTE always in client side, and DCE always in ISP side. And in the case of DCE, switch will frame relay that you use. So first DTE to DCE is called, because here as shown in your diagram, the communication between DTE to DCE and DCE to DCE. So when we are talking about the DTE to DCE, DTE to DCE, so that is called UNI. UNI. So here that UNI, that is for user network interface. So when we are talking about DCE to DCE, that means we are talking about the NNI. So NNI, that is called network interface. So this is a components of frame relay network. So next we have that is virtual circuit. So virtual circuit, that means data link connection interface, DLCI, and so basically DLCI is a like a address of layer 2, like a MAC address. So in this case we are having two different types, that is global and local DLSI. So global, that means only one router that connected. In the case of local DLCI, that is more than one routers. So next that we are having LMI negotiation process. So LMI, that is local management interface, and use of DLCI. Suppose we use LCP protocol, that is link control protocol in layer 2, with the help of LMI. Basically LMI that replace LCP protocol. So in this case, that is status inquiry first send status inquiry message, status message. They get reply back from the frame, because router send the status inquiry message to the frame, then they will get back status message from FrameRelay switch that send connection status and PVC status link. So here PVC, that is permanent virtual circuit. So next we are having inverse ARP negotiation process. So after checking the PVC status, inverse ARP negotiation process. So in this case, mapping will be checked. So in this case, mapping will be checked. So means how DLCI or virtual circuit identify with other end. So the main function of inverse ARP is to resolve the IP address of remote device that is connected to every VC. So here we use remote protocol IP is 10.1.1.24. So first in ARP they send a request sender source IP, then target address. Then this router, they will get a reply back from the router B in ARP reply sender IP this, target IP is this, then sender DLCI 200. This is the message from the RTB. So next is frame relay and split horizon. So in this case, suppose RTA is a main branch. Suppose RTA is a main branch, and you can implement RIP and OSPF protocol between all the routers. You can implement RIP and OSPF protocol between all the routers and store the router root with others. So in this case, suppose S10/0, that is hidden layer with each other. So, but there is a problem in split horizon. If we are using RIP, all routers can share traffic with each other through RTA. First it will RTA and then others. So split horizon, they cannot share update with each others. For example, if RTB, suppose if RTB send any update to RTC, it cannot be possible in split horizon. It would create a problem. So next, that is frame relay sub interface. So the solution in is you will connect different interface and share the update. Here, as in the previous slide, here is only one interface between RTB, RTC, and RTD. They are connected on a single interface. But in this case, we are having multiple interface. So this is a solution for that. So, but this is a costly solution. This is a costly solution. Why? Because they can only tell. So in this case, virtual circuit is not allowed because you are connected different signals. You will create sub intervals into the VLAN and the routers. Then you are connect to RTB to RTC for the different branch offices. So like S1 001, S2 002, 3. So next is configuration part. So you have to maintain link protocol frame. So in this case, interface GT is not mandatory to maintain over there. So because in Huawei switches and routers, by default, all the switches and routers are DTE devices. By default, in the case of switch, Huawei routers and switches, they are switches are DTE devices. But if you want to change the type DCE in switch, that use in the case of frame relay switch, and frame in ARP is frame relay inverse ARP. That again it is difficult to in Huawei switches. Means no need to specific these commands. So. So you can verify using this command whether your configuration part is completely applied or not. So the command for checking the configuration part, that is display frame PVC information, that tells the complete information about the PVC. So this is an interface where you apply a particular link protocol frame. So first go to the interface, which interface you want to apply. Then change the encapsulation protocol link will be changed. Continue. If you want to click on a yes, they will continue. Then after that, assigning IP address to a particular port. So now this is the configuration validation static mapping. So this is all about this topic. So now we are going to start our next topic. That is that is AAA. So basically, AAA is a authentication method header, authentication, accounting, and authorizations. So AAA stands for authentication, authorization, and accounting. So this is like a client server model where authentication is there. So authentication, first is, suppose this is authentication, that is your login screen. So login screen, you must enter your username and password before the start of before the login. So this is allowed for login or not. If you have a valid username and password, you will log in. Then after login, privileges are there. After login, privileges are there. So privileges to the particular file is called authorization. Privileges to the particular file is called authorization. Privileges, like if you have the privileges, suppose read only, you cannot append or you cannot edit to the particular file. You cannot change the particular file. You cannot modify the particular file. So these are the privileges to assign a particular user. So this is called authorization. So accounting. Third A, that is accounting. Suppose you have reading file and deleting it, but all the records are recorded. That is log record. So that is the called accounting. Log record, that means you whether you are creating or deleting the complete files, it means log record is there. So accounting, that is log record. So these are the these AAAs. So this is the AAA application. So authentication and authorization performed by the NAS. Authentication and authorization that performed by the NAS, that is network access server. So that is on Huawei router. So this is called local authentications. Suppose these PCs that shown in a given image, these PCs wants to communicate with server. Then they first they have to enter the valid username and password. But if you want to remote authentication, you want to dedicated AAA servers, not routers, but you need dedicated AAA server. So remote authentication further different two types. Further two types authentication and authorization, further different categories. We are having different categories. Whether first category in this case, that is first category is that is local, and second is remote, and third one is none. So when we are talking about the local category, local, that means database that create in a NAS routers in the case of local, and remote category in this case, that is dedicated to a AAA server. So basically this is for a AAA server. So AAA server, further they check the radius server, they check the HWTACAC, that is specifically for a Huawei server. Specifically for Huawei server. So in the case of none, that means there is no username and password. No username and password, sorry. So in the case of accounting, because these are the part of the authorization and authentication. And accounting, further different two types. Accounting that further two types, that is remote and none. None, that is no username and password. Remote, that means on AAA server. So there is one question in this case, that is in accounting there is no local categories there. Why local is not supported in this case? That means because it create logs and take more space. Create logs and take more space. So in that case, local server not have enough space. So that is why we are not creating local in the case of accounting. So next is authentication. Authentication we already discussed, that is maintain the database and NAS server. First they check the AA authentication authorization, that is called the local server. So authorization in this case, that means mapping with the types of different users, like we are assigning privileges or access methods to the different users. Next we are having, that is accounting. Accounting, that is logging record. Logging record, whether the complete login, when host A logged in, when host X logged in, what is the date and time for the logged in, what the total time expand host A and host whatever कोई भी यहाँ पे होगा तो. So next, that is a AAA domain. So based on domain name, that means we are talking about the privileges. We are talking about the privileges. Then domain type, that is default for normal user. So in this case, we are having different types of domain. Domain types. One is default and default admin. So default, that means for normal users, and admin, that is for particular, because the name is near the definition, that is specifically for admin. So in Huawei routers, you can create max 32 domains. In the case of Huawei router, you can create max 32 domains, including these two domains. So you cannot delete these two domains. So that means total is 32. These twos are by default. These two are the type of under 32, but you cannot delete these two types. That means the maximum limit for creating the domain, that is 30. So next is configuration part of AAA local configuration. So in this case, this NAS server of router A. So first make authentication scheme, then authorize scheme. So you just write AAA to a particular router, then authentication scheme, authorization, then localhost, then quit, then two. So these are the local configuration for AAA. So if you want to display the configuration, you just type display domain name. So these are the two questions that is based upon the this AAA. So first question, that is which two AAA schemes are supported when configuration VRP to support the local mode. Yes, Rohit.
सर अकाउंटिंग को छोड़ के जो ऑथेंटिकेशन है.
Authorization and authentication.
Yes sir.
And second question is, if no domain is defined for user, what action is taken? Yes, Richa. If no domain is defined for user, what action is taken? Rupali? So the answer for this question, that is default. If no domain is defined for users, what action is taken? That means it is default type. So this is all about the AAA protocol. So if you people are having doubt in GARP, GVRP, FrameRelay principles or AAA, just raise your hand if you have any doubt. That means there is no doubt in this case. Yes, Sumit. Bolo Sumit.